So I was going through this Facebook post and I saw a post from an accounting group where the guy actually mentioned a very big problem that I think a lot of other accounting firms face. So I'm going to share with you that post with a little AI spin to it. But if it actually relates to you, continue watching because I'm going to share with you some of the tips that I read in the comments, but also share some of my tips that I would give as a person who knows exactly where this person's coming from and also how to fix it.
Question for the owners who actively work in their businesses. How do you deal with the constant being pulled into 1,000 directions? Is this normal and something you just deal with? I have a great staff, and they are willing to help in any way, but I am still the point of contact for a lot of clients, close to 100. We have tried introducing clients to the staff member who work on their accounts, but it hasn't helped. I am still the one who gets all the task emails. How do you stop this or slow it down?
Here are a couple great comments and feedback that I read inside that post. So one guy said, start forwarding those emails to the responsible teammates and let them respond. You don't have to deal with them just because they land in your inbox. Or respond to them and add the appropriate person to the email and just say, thanks for setting this. I've added Anne to this email and she'll take care of it, or something sort of like that. Eventually, when Anne is the one answering their questions, they will email her directly. So that's actually a really good tip because that means you do have staff on your team that's able to answer these emails without you kind of hovering or telling them exactly what to do. As opposed to this other comment, which is another tip. It works, but it's actually a lot of work in terms of the accounting firm owner. So he says, I forward to my senior accounts working with them. If there's an easy answer, I tell them what to say. If it's a bigger question, I direct them on what to do, like call the clients or get more info. And it's hard to forward the easy questions because it would be a lot faster just to answer them, but this has helped clients to reach out to them instead of me. They get me on a higher level questions. I also have standing meetings twice a week with these accounts to go over these emails if they don't know how to handle it. So this is really great too, that they're empowering their employees and their staff to try to take on some of these emails and client meetings. But actually, it's still a lot of work for that accounting owner because they're the one directing exactly what to say and what to do. So I think to go one step further beyond those recommendations, I would recommend this. And this is coming from me owning a tax firm for over 17 years. I've had employees, I've trained employees, and I've actually able to scale my business consistently year after year. So of course, the number one way to help alleviate the stress of clients constantly contacting you or pulling you in every single direction because you're the main point of contact is that you just got to level up your staff. You got to train them and be able to trust all of their work. And the first step to do that is consistent training. Every week, at least once a week, on the same day, same time. That's the most important thing, is that you have to have consistent training done not just once a year or twice a year. It's actually done consistently. I would say at least once a week, and it's only an hour each time. So 1 hour each week. Now, I usually recommend doing these types of training on days where it's a little slower. So like a Friday after lunch. Now, step 2 is that you have to have your topic ready. You have to be prepared for every training session. You can't just kind of wing it, right? So you have to make sure that you know exactly what you're going to be training on, whether it's review an email, it's going over some kind of new tax topic or knowledge, you're trying to teach them on this new thing that you learned, or even if it's just to review something bad that happened during the week and go over exactly what happened. But you always have to make sure you have those topics ready beforehand to make sure that the training goes smoothly, because you don't want your staff to think that training is off the rail and that there's really no structure to it, because they're not going to take the training seriously after that. So we want to make sure that you take the training seriously by knowing exactly what to prepare for every single training. Now, after step 1 and 2, this is where most accounting firms stop training and stop doing extra things for training, because the way that maybe firm owners thinks is that, hey, I taught it, we reviewed it, now they should know it, right? There's actually a saying that says that you have to say something 7 times before someone hears it the first time. So just because you trained it once or you talked about it once and you reviewed it once doesn't mean that all of your staff members are going to remember everything that you just trained. So this is where I actually go to extra mile. Step 3. This is where we actually do training exercises to reinforce the learning. And one example of a training exercise that we do is right after I do the teaching and we go over everything that we need to go over, I ask them to do a presentation as if they were talking to a client. So they'll do their presentation and then we'll give them instant feedback. We'll say, okay, you were really good at this point, but looks like you're talking a little fast because it sounds like you're a little nervous. Maybe you can slow it down a little bit, or maybe you missed a couple points here and there. But it's that instant feedback that's super helpful for the staff because now they know exactly what to correct and what to improve upon. But I think what's most important with these presentations that I have the staff do is that it just gets them out of their comfort zone because we want to make sure that this is like a practice field. This is where they go and they could practice and see what works and what doesn't work. And then it's better for them to do something wrong or make a mistake during this practice field rather than in front of a client, right? And there's this saying that Kobe Bryant says is that let me look it up. He says, make practice harder than the actual game and the game will be easy. So meaning that if practice is hard and they're getting out of their comfort zone, which is good, then that means that when they actually go meet with the client, super easy, they'll be able to talk to the client with so much more confidence because they've already been through the grind of the practice sessions already. Now the last step, step 4, this is review, 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 meaning that just because, remember, you can't just teach it once and expect them to remember it. So even after you give them the exercises and doing the practice session, a week later, 2 weeks later, we always want to review what we learned maybe the week before or the month before, just as a learning session. And we spend 5 to 10 minutes before the actual training just to go over past things that we trained upon, just to make sure that, hey, it's still in their head. And it's really simple. Sometimes it's just, hey, you remember we talked about this thing about Schedule C, list out everything that you remember from that discussion. And then we see what is it that they remember, and then we let them know, okay, you forgot this, or maybe you got this wrong. So by doing that, it kind of reinforces the memory again, because now they're actually forced to recall what they learned. And by doing this over and over again, we're able to make sure that whatever is being taught to them is actually sticking. And that's the most important part, is when you're doing these trainings, you want all the information to stick in their head and that they could recall it freely, not just recall it whenever you bring it up, but be able to recall it freely, because when they talk to clients, they'll be able to say exactly what they need to say to clients, and the clients will feel confident that this person knows what he or she is talking about. Now, step 1 and 2, totally doable, super easy, just keeping consistent meetings and knowing exactly what to talk about in the meetings. But step 3 and 4, this actually requires deliberate planning and time, because it takes time to come up with exercises to see, okay, what is it that they remember? What is it that you could do to reinforce the learning? But also takes time to review past things, because sometimes we just want to go through things as quickly as possible. We don't really want to concentrate on things in the past because maybe it's redundant or we think they already know it, but it's not true. We need to make sure that we do step 3 and 4 properly to make sure that they get that learning that they really need to recall when they need to recall it. And remember, the reason why you want them to recall all this information, be able to have it inside their head, is because in time, you want them to be able to talk to clients or respond to emails where you don't have to tell them exactly what to say or do. And the goal is that if you're bogged down with client meetings and answering all the client emails, you need to offload some of that over to your staff. And the only way to offload some of that stuff over to your staff is if they're capable and confident in responding to the client or talking to the client. So imagine this, if within the first 3 months or so, you could take 2 to 3 meetings off of your plate and give it to one of your staff. And let's just say you have 2 staff members. That's 4 to 6 meetings a week at the very beginning that they could handle for you. How much time would that save for you? Then think about it, and over time, as they continue getting more confident, getting more knowledge, maybe they could take 10 to 20 meetings off of your plate. How much more time would that save you? Now, if you feel like this is something that's a good fit for your firm and you want your employees or staff to really level up, you should consider our program called the Level Up Quest program. It's a 3-part program that consists of weekly virtual e-lessons that has practice materials and quizzes. There's a community where they could engage, share, and practice whatever they helped. And then this is where they also get feedback on things that they practice. And also a monthly online group workshop where we all meet as a group. We will break out into smaller groups to have discussions, maybe do some presentations. We'll do some problem solving, some case studies, and also have some friendly competition, some friendly games that we're gonna play like Jeopardy. So if this is something that you are interested in, definitely hit the link that's in my bio and get more information from there as well.